Alright, so last time we implemented more features on our game server, which is just a simple echo server for now, and we added the HTTP/status endpoint, which is supposed to tell us some status about the game server. And I think that for now, for the purposes of this small app of the matchmaker, is to just tell us the number of players that we have in the game server. So that way we'll know that if we have 0 players, we can kill this game, and if we have more than 1 player, then the game can continue. So let's see maybe an example, I guess, for this echo server. So if we run examples echo, it should start, well, I guess max players is 0 right now, so it's not gonna work. So let me just check what we need to add. So we need to get this server max players and define this value to, let's say, 2 players. Then we can run our echo server, and now we can connect with netcat. Or I guess first let's see the new feature. Actually, we can get the status on port 8080 and we can see it's 0 players. And now if we connect to 6969, which is the port that the game server is running on, we can send messages, right? And if we check the curl command again, we can see that we have 1 player. And let's say we netcat into this thing again, we send a hi message, everyone gets the hi message, it's getting broadcasted. And if we get the status again, it says 2 players. And if we try to connect to the server again and send a message, it's not gonna do anything because the maximum capacity has been reached. And we can check that by doing another curl. We can see it's only 2 players. So if we close this guy, we can see that the message was sent finally. Yeah, I mean, and the number of players is still 2. And if we just kill some of the players, we get 1 player and then 0 players again. So that's what the /status endpoint should do, right? It's supposed to tell us whether the game server is still available in a way. And yeah, I mean, I still haven't figured out how to use slog. I'm sorry about that. I'll try to figure it out, but yeah, for now it's fine. So yeah, that's how the game server works by itself, right? So you can still use the game server by itself, run it, standalone, and have like a LAN connection, like a LAN party, let's say, with the game server. But you can also spin up, let's first of all just clean up our Docker, and let's start up the database. And this database has the like responsibility of keeping all the games in a table. I'm using Postgres because I just like Postgres, Postgres fanboy. We could have as easily just used something like SQLite or like a file-based database, but Redis or something, but I like Postgres. So the database started, we can next develop, go run cmd, we can initialize the migrations, run the migrations just to have the tables there. So the table is going to be something like the code, which is a unique key that we use to identify rooms via code, and you can use the code to get into a private room. So if your friend creates a private room. And the other cool thing I was thinking about was we already have a multiplayer game implemented in Cool, which is the language I made from scratch. So if we want to check that, there's like an entire playlist of like 20 videos or something of me implementing this language from scratch. And we actually are able to run raylib. I ported raylib to cool. So we have, okay, I have to make examples, I guess. So we are able to run games in cool, right? Which is pretty nice. And what's even cooler about this is that we actually managed to make a multiplayer game. So we can make the server and coin client. Don't remember exactly what the game was about. You just have to collect coins and fight off other players. So, right, you can see the enemies and kill them or something. And yeah, like the game is pretty basic, but I was just thinking, what if we are able to actually run this game server from the matchmaker and create like matches for this game? That would be quite interesting. The only issue right now is that you know, like everything, like the entire standard library is made by me basically. So we don't have in net, for example, we don't have HTTP capabilities. So I would have to just go ahead and implement HTTP in this language, which kind of sucks in my, like it sucks. It's really bad. It's like my first programming language that I did. And to be honest, I don't really like OOP, but I decided to take a language like from, I don't know, something like Stanford, like a course from there, and just implement it because I was like, okay, probably this language is gonna be pretty easy to implement since it's made for some university course. So should be quite, you know, like it's surely it's gonna be really nicely documented. So I just did that, and at the end I decided to just add some, let me just show you. All right, so actually let me just run air so it recompiles itself. So if we go to matchmaker, right, currently we have a spawn method in this game server interface, and I said that I want a destroy method, which I think is gonna get the code and probably return just an error. I think this is what we need, right? And now the compiler is gonna complain that we don't have destroy on the Docker implementation, so we just have to do that, right? We have to take this thing and let's implement destroy for game server Docker. Right. I guess I'm gonna do air and then return. So this thing is supposed to just run docker kill. It won't do any checks and it won't do anything special. So we can just take this thing. Let me just actually copy paste this entire stuff. So it's gonna be just docker kill and code. We saw that it's enough to run this stuff. Okay. So we are just gonna kill the Docker image. That's everything this destroy needs to do. Okay, we have the functionality. Now we just have to integrate it into some kind of separate task. So if we check the echo server, you can see that here I have this kind of build, right? This kind of structure. We have a defer, like a go routine, which is the HTTP server, and then on the main thread we continue with the while loop where we run the the task. So we can do the same thing for our matchmaker. It's gonna have a go routine for HTTP, let's say, for example, and another one for running the health check task. So we can try to do that. Okay, so let's just think about it. We want the database and the game server. The game server, I think, is gonna be shared. Database needs to be I mean, database is kind of only for the HTTP thing. I don't think the task is gonna need a database, since we already decided that players, we don't need that column in the database. I think that's fair. So then we can have a main HTTP, just like we do here, let's say, and I guess we need a config. So config is part of matchmaker, right? So that's the config, and I said database is gonna be here. Handler is gonna be instead of this handler, and server is actually okay. Let's just delete all of this stuff, it's useless. Game server is a game server. Let's actually call it server. I'm fine with that. Right. But I said that the game server is gonna be used in both, so it's gonna be shared. Right. So we do that, and then go main HTTP, and we pass the config and the server. Right, so now we just call main HTTP on a separate thread. Right, whatever, it's always gonna run on 8080, that's fine with me. Right. So then the next part, if we check the echo.go, is we had this for loop which runs the other stuff. So in this, I would just run the health check. Can we have golang sleep? Probably yeah. Time.sleep. Okay, that's cool. But let's do like a separate function. Main health check. I feel like server game server, and we just do everything here, and we say main health check. Right, and the reason why we need two threads for this approach is that this one is gonna run this router, which is like a while true task, right? It's blocking on each request, and the health check needs to also run in its own while loop. So we need two threads. Either one can be like the go routine, but it's like already did this one, so yeah, whatever. So yeah, the health check, well, you know what, I'm gonna do something like this. I'm gonna do health check server. I mean, it's not necessarily a health check, but yeah, more like whatever. So let's do time, and we'll probably wait like 60 seconds in between each health check or something like that. Oh, actually, you know what? We kind of need the database. We kind of need a database because we want to select all the rooms, right? So we actually need a database. Okay, I mean that's fair. Right, we need a database and the server. So let's say here this is like a BandDB. I mean config is not needed, so yeah, whatever, but let's just keep it. And this thing is also gonna take in db, which is a pointer to ban.db. I think the reason why we use a pointer here is to have only one instance, or like only one connection to the database. But here we don't really care about this game server, because game server is gonna be just some functions, let's say. So now, yeah, sure, fair enough. You might say, oh, but you copy paste code, you repeat the same code. I mean, it's like whatever, dude. Well, actually, we don't really repeat it because we have this stuff. This thing actually wants a context. Context.background. I have, to be honest, I don't know what's this context, but whatever. So if we somehow fail to select from the database, that's kind of cooked. Let's log the error while performing health check. Right, I mean that's kind of bad, but it is what it is. And now we should be able to iterate all the rooms and check how many players they have. Right. Check how many players each room has. And I'd say that, you know, if the matchmaker crashes, it's still gonna be fine because the database holds all the rooms. So as long as the database doesn't lose the records for some reason, I don't know how that's gonna be possible, managing the Docker images is gonna be fine, I would say. So for room in range rooms, room is gonna be int what? And now this is a room. Okay, perfect. I mean, this is so stupid, but whatever. Okay, so we iterate the rooms, right? And we can do something like room.code. We have the code. So we can make some kind of, well, you know, we can just server.destroy room.code. So this is just gonna kill the room straight up without any checks. But we want to destroy the room only if it has 0 players. And for now, I mean, I was thinking to have it like a grace period. So you start the server. When you start it, it's gonna have 0 players, like obviously, it's stupid. So we have to wait a little bit until the room actually gets some players in. But I think that this sleep 60 seconds is gonna cover that. Like, what are the chances of you creating a room right when it's second 59? I mean, that's, you know, you can actually do that and say, oh, it's buggy, but I mean, whatever. It's just a proof of concept, so I don't care about stuff like that. So let's actually have something like function room health check. Yo, you know what would be cool? To have, let's go into lib and let's do like another DTO. It's gonna be room status and it should have players, right? That's the status of a room. It's not gonna be a DTO, it's gonna be just room status, right? And I'm gonna say something like function this room get status. Let's make like a method on top of a room. You can call get status. So it's gonna return room status. Let's have something like this. And now we can say status is equal to room dot get status, and if status dot players less or equal to 0, we destroy the room. And we can say slog.info found an empty room what like room.code will attempt to despawn to destroy it. Okay, and the other thing we need to do is db new delete. I'm scared. I don't know how to golang ban delete. How do you delete row? New delete with whatever we put a model. Example, let's see an example. So we do new delete that model where primary key. So I say model room and the context is C, and this thing has like a result and error. Oh, you know what? This thing can actually return an error. Right, so if we have an error, we say, oh, right, something like this. So we get the error. Not sure I like this, but it kind of makes sense, right? So it's like if you have an error, you just stop. And then we say here, error while performing health check or something. We'll attempt to destroy it and remove it from the database, whatever. So yeah, I guess that's that. So let's see get status. How is it gonna work? So golang get request. Let's see how can we make a get request. Oh my god. I just click on something. Okay. So, oh, we already have it. Perfect. So we do request URL. Beautiful. Request URL. The port. That's gonna be cool. So the port is gonna be this.query port. See, that's what I'm talking about. This.address. So we get the thingy. Then we actually this can also have an error. Let's have like status and error. So we http dot get. I think I don't know about that, but whatever. Let's try to get API v1 status, right? That's gonna be what we need. And then we have this if we have an error. If we have an error, I'm just gonna say return, right? And here we have status code. But how do we now how do we so here we well, I guess you can also just do new request and stuff like that, but read all body. So we can just read the body. And we have the response body. But how can we actually parse it? How can we actually parse that body? Like Jin has this parser, right? But it's kind of like should bind, which is not ideal. Should bind, what does it use though? Should bind with bind. I mean, fuck knows. Okay, let's golang bind string to JSON. I mean, this kind of sucks, but you know, for now, let's just say that maybe this is gonna work. Yo, no, this is what I needed. JSON unmeasured. Okay, perfect. That's what I needed. So this is the res body. It gets bytes, and here we need status, right? But it needs to be bytes though. Oh, I already know. Okay. So it's if r is not nil, we return. So it's basically make the request. Maybe we can even say slog info making HTTP request to something like this. Right, then we check the get request, then we read the bytes, I would say, right, and then we unmarshal that stuff into the status. So let's actually see. If error is not nil, we return. The fuck? Oh. 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 The fuck? See details on it. Result parameter r not in scope at return, but it's like defined here. What the fuck do you want? Man, this is cooked. Like really, you have to do something like status room status. Wow, isn't this one cooked? Okay, let's just do something like this because I'm getting annoyed by that. This how do you call it? Golang BS. I would say here it's gonna be null, so it's fine. Okay, so yeah, it is what it is. Is it gonna complain? No. Perfect. So let's slog debug. Got a room with status status. I'm just curious. Okay, let's start this bad boy. What the fuck? Error. I love it. It's just starting with an error. That's perfect. Error while performing health check. Bed null. Oh, I'm just dumb. If error is not equal to null, I was like, why is the error null? Though that's crazy. Okay. So nothing seems to happen. Let's create a new room. So we create a new room, right? We netcat really quick into it so it's not getting deleted. And now we wait for 1 minute. So yeah, until the health check is completed and we see if there is it's annoying. Maybe 1 minute was too much, but oh, what the fuck I did? I pressed on something. Right. But yeah, it's gonna run this health check every 1 minute, and we'll see here if oh, making HTTP requests to our app, is it? Yeah, it's the right thing. And now if we disconnect from it, oh wait, it's just saying making HTTP requests to I don't, yeah, damn it, I'm only showing info, so I'm not showing this debug. Okay, anyway, doesn't matter. But now it's gonna be like 1 minute. Fuck. Oh, that was the secret. I had to restart it. Right, so found an empty room with this ID, so it deleted it from our thing. So now if I docker ps, there's nothing there. If I try to netcat, it's not gonna work. If I try to get this room, it's not there, right? No rows. I mean, it shouldn't really be an error. Oh, actually, yeah, it should be like a 404, not found. But yeah, there's nothing in the database, so that looks good to me. So now if we go ahead and create a new room, we netcat really quick into it. Hello, we have another dude saying hi. Right, this room is gonna be full, so it's not deleted during the mandatory thing here, like killing the empty rooms. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. Would be cool to actually see it run with the actual game, that game from the cool language. That would be cool if I will be somehow able to add this HTTP stuff. So what do we need to add there is like being able to have HTTP, right? And then we need this main HTTP thing there. So being able to call on /status and get the number of players. So that's the only thing I need there, which I don't know if it's gonna be possible, but maybe maybe we'll be able to do that, who knows. But yeah, see here it's making HTTP request to this status. I think we can just, yeah, so it says 2 players, right? So it's not empty yet. But if we disconnect, next time it's gonna say 0 players, and it's gonna kill the Docker image. So Docker PS, it's here, but once it runs this thing, it found it empty, so Docker PS is not there. We don't have the server running anymore. So yeah, that's actually what I had in plan to do. So the matchmaker is kind of complete. We just need a better example than that echo server to test it with, and I think that really small game is pretty good. So yeah, like now we have a functional kind of a matchmaking like app, right? And it's also kind of like microservices because it involves running stuff with Docker, and yeah, it's pretty decent. Like a decent example of using Golang with Docker and Postgres. Yeah, like I wanted to do something different than just a to-do app, so I think this one was really cool, like a really interesting idea to try to figure out how to implement this matchmaking service. So yeah, let's try next time to add HTTP in cool. I guess it's gonna be a bit of a struggle because I don't remember that well how to use cool, but I'll try to add HTTP. And by HTTP I mean just something like we did in HTTP server in C, which is just the GET request. Shouldn't be that hard to have just GET. And then maybe we'll be able to run, I mean, we should already be able to run we just need to make a Docker image, right, with the game server, and we'll be able to run it. So, the other thing I can do right now is maybe instead of game echo, you can actually pass the name of the Docker image. So let's say name string, and now maybe we can do something like %s name, right? And when we spawn this bad boy, we can, for now we can just add game latest, right? So it's running, and oh yeah, actually we could have used the name of the room as the name of the Docker, but whatever. Imagine someone typing in some weird stuff, but yeah. So maybe this is gonna be an environment variable, right? So let's have here like game struct name string and game name. So maybe it even makes sense to keep the config cfg matchmaker config here, and now we can say cfg this.cfg game name, right? So we can pass that, and here we can do cfg. So now we can also put the game name into the environment variables. So here in .env local, game name is gonna be echo game latest. So if we restart it and we curl the post, it actually creates the right game, right? So that's nice. We should even, yeah, so game is game echo latest. So if I create the Docker image for the cool game, it should work. All right, so that's, and we just switch the name here. So that's what we are gonna try to do next time. Build a Docker image for that game server. Instead of netcat, we are gonna use the game client. The only issue is that client is always using 6969 as the port. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to pass a different value here. Maybe we'll use something like what was that? Something like new io dot read int or something. I think that's how you do it, but we'll figure it out next time. So yeah, right now we are able to run the database with all the games. We are able to run the matchmaker with a custom Docker image for the game server, and when we use these curl commands, we spawn new games, and we can connect with netcat to the game and also see the status of each game. So if it's still running or if it needs to be killed, like this room right here, it was killed. So yeah, see you in the next one.